Welcome back. A growing number of American workers say they are experiencing discrimination in the workplace.
It's not because of their skin color or sexual orientation. Instead, they say it's because of their age. Sandra joins us now with the story. Good morning.
And more workers are finding they have to work longer since it seems retirement is out of reach with this economy. But what older workers say is that they're experiencing a tough road in the workplace.
Okay, so today we're going to be looking at age discrimination. Now, age discrimination is very real. It doesn't mean that you have to be 50 years old or older, like 60 years old, applying a job. For most people, the moment you clock, like you turn like 35 years and above, you start applying jobs. And you're applying the same pool with like a 20-year-old out of college. Guess who they're going to hire? They're not going to hire a 35-year-old or older. So most people, they start experiencing this age discrimination 35 years and above. And then it gets worse from 40 and above. It's something that it's very hard to prove, because how are you going to prove you're discriminated because of age? They can just say you're not qualified or, some nonsense reason. But let's see the clip. Before we continue, please like, subscribe, and share.
On your back, they're pushing the older managers out.
At 56 years old, Archie Taylor says he felt his workplace was taking a turn. For more than 30 years, he worked hard to establish a successful career in insurance, climbing up the ladder at his company, rising to district sales manager, and always meeting expectations. But then he noticed a shift in the company.
The elimination of some of my peers being forced out, retiring early, and it became a pattern. And I was one of the last older working employees in my field at the time. When I was understaffed, they continued to raise my goal and expect me to still achieve them. If you raise the goal so high and you don't have the staff to achieve the goal, it's impossible.
Eventually, his bosses basically forced him out.
They set me up for failure. Exactly what they did.
Wow, that's some dramatic music. I thought it was like a trailer for the next John Wick or something. But in all seriousness, this happens a lot. Like, you reach a certain age, the company wants to push you out because the older you are means more experience, and most cases means you want more or higher pay. So the company would rather just kick you out or try to push you out so that they can hire somebody new, fresh out of college, so that, they can pay them less. So in this case, this guy, he was being pushed out. He noticed it. But there is also some other case we're going to look at where somebody is trying now to apply for a job. He was already in a job, being pushed out. But now we're going to look at another video right after this, where somebody is outside of the workforce, an older gentleman trying to enter the workforce again, and he is going to be coming after roadblock after roadblock, especially with the AI system. But let's continue with the video.
There was emotional impact. I come home to tell my wife I don't have a job. I took my job. It was humiliating. Somewhat embarrassed. I felt betrayed.
Age discrimination at work is against the law, but at times it may be tough to prove in court. The nonprofit group Working Nation is trying to help older workers be aware of what to watch for.
There's a lot of responsibility put on employers when it comes to upskilling and the betterment of your employee base. But what we say is the worker has their responsibility as well. Understanding how the job is changing and recognizing the value of the people that you're working alongside. There's stereotypes about every generation currently, and we all know what they are. At Working Nation, we like to say that we hope that the stereotype for every one of these 5 generations is that we're lifelong learners. I think for older workers, for them to embrace the fact that they have been lifelong learners, that they have learned along the way as technology has been adopted. There's a lot of workers out there that think that they're not and are scared of technology as it advances. There's data that shows that 90% of jobs in the future are going to have some type of technology. 50% of the folks in the workforce that are Hispanic have lacking digital literacy. That's the way the Hispanic Federation has talked about it. So, you know, it's about getting ahead of it.
A study by the AARP shows 2 out of 3 workers between 45 and 74 years old say they've experienced age discrimination, and by 35 years old, workers find age as an obstacle for being hired.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about when you are like turning 35 and you're starting to apply for jobs, especially if you're changing fields, because by 35 for most people they've worked same place or they want to change fields, then it gets very hard for you. And now, as you can see, it's happening and it's gonna continue to happen. So what can be done to avoid it? I mean, not everybody can be an entrepreneur, because the most obvious answer is going to be start your job or start your own business, do something for yourself. But not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Some people have to work. I know the law says that you are protected by age, but who really believes that? Like who? First of all, the HR is not your friend. I don't know, in case you didn't know, let me break the news for you. HR is not your friend. They are there to protect the company. So HR is going to say, oh, in case of any discrimination, come and we're going to take care of you. Don't listen to HR. They are lying. They are liars. But okay, let me stop my ranting and let's finish the video.
Many workers say hearing negative comments about a person's age is the most common type of discrimination they've encountered, and it hits women harder than men. But advocates say it's important for employers to understand experience cannot be replaced in an effort to perhaps cut the bottom line.
AARP has done a lot of research and shown that multi-generational workforce actually work better. So the skills that the older workforce has and the skills that, let's say, Gen Y have, when we bring them together, they actually make for a much stronger workforce.
For Archie, he took his battle to court and won. And he's still working in a different field today altogether, working as his own boss in real estate, refusing to let anyone take his right away to make a living for himself.
Okay, so he was able to create his own job. He started his own job, so he is lucky. But let's see now another instance where somebody who's out of the job, I think he was a 60-year-old, trying to apply for jobs. So let's go to this other clip. I hope it doesn't have that much dramatic music. It was giving me a headache, but it is what it is. Let's go to this next clip and see how AI is stopping people from even getting their resumes to the right HR people, for anyone, for a human being to look at the resume. Okay, back to the video.
With the rise in cost of living and longer life expectancies, a growing number of older Americans are looking to return to the workforce. But when it comes to landing a job in their field, many are hitting a brick wall. Queen City News Chief Business Correspondent Taylor Young explains why age discrimination cases have skyrocketed in recent years, coinciding with a wave of new hiring techniques.
I know I have her name, but can you just state and spell?
Sure, yep. Glenn Selby, Glenselby. Notice I did not say H anywhere in there.
A resume is like a black and white snapshot of its author's professional life.
And my bachelor's degree from Belmont.
For Glenn Selby, his tells a story of over 40 years of work experience.
So there, folks, do the math. You probably can figure out my age from there.
After losing his software development job during the pandemic, Selby, now in his 60s, has been on the job hunt ever since. Application after application, each leading nowhere.
I just came to the point to where, what's the point of doing this? There's no purpose in it. There's something wrong here.
His skepticism directed at the online application process, specifically boxes he has to fill out in order to submit, his graduation date, and length he spent at each job. 2 pieces of information he believes are being used against him.
Yeah, I have to pause there because that's really true. It happens a lot when you're applying a job. They ask you, what year did you graduate? They're not asking you because they want to see if you are the same alma mater. No, they're asking you to see how old you are. I mean, they can do a background check once they really want to hire you, but before you even get an interview, they really want to see how old you are, and they can get that by, you know, when you graduated and how many companies you've worked at. Now, for me, I went to college when I was much older. So I was older than other, what they call non-traditional students here in America. And when I went to college with younger people, now my resume was showing that I was a recent graduate, even though I was older. So it worked in my advantage. I don't know how long it's gonna work in my advantage, but the end goal for me is to find my own thing to do so that I don't have to keep begging people, to give me a job. And then, this happens. They discriminate you and you can't even get an interview because an AI system is stopping you right at the gate. Let's go back to the video.
Started putting two and two together and began suspecting that this may be ageism.
Is age discrimination in the workforce real?
Not only is it real, it's extremely prevalent.
Chris Dryanese is a Charlotte attorney who represents victims of workplace discrimination.
It's very difficult to prove an age discrimination claim. It's not sort of at the forefront of some of the narratives that are, prevalent on social media and in the news today.
An estimated 80% of companies are using AI-powered hiring software to filter through applications. Millions of resumes blocked by a digital wall, never reaching a set of eyes.
Think about age discrimination as this either intentional or human enacted process, but oftentimes now we could see age discrimination that unfolds because of these AI-based tools.
Megan Davenport is a psychological science professor who studies the aging workforce. She says if AI hiring software is discriminating against older workers, it's because it may have been unintentionally taught to do so by the companies using them.
Build the algorithm so that you want to predict hiring people like the ones that we have hired and had good luck with.
Davenport says if the trend was older applicants not getting hired as often as younger ones, the AI algorithm is just going to replicate that.
It can be just as biased. It can actually usually be built on existing biases that we're trying to use AI to get away from.
Potential biases that Glenn Selby tried to work around.
No dates, not even my graduation date. Just my education's on there with no date.
His resume, virtually ageless, which did end up leading to more responses, just not the ones he was hoping for. Recruiters reaching out, wanting dates.
So my response has been to take each of the job positions in kind of a bullet point and put the number of years I was at each one and just leave it at that.
And their response back?
Is nothing.
Yep, so you see, even if he tries to go around it, he's getting no responses. And this is a guy who worked in tech. So you would think it is different in tech because tech has a lot of money. But I guess there's a tech bubble now. So many people in tech have been fired. But so he's having lots of difficulty because of his age, despite working in tech. So it's quite, different scenario. But let's finish up the video and see what happened to him.
No response.
6 months have gone by since we've sat down with Selby. He did end up getting a job at a chain restaurant.
You've got these mature people with all these life experiences.
Selby continues to apply for jobs he believes he's more than qualified for.
They have the life experience that would benefit your organization. They really do.
Reporting in Charlotte.
Okay, so that's what happened to him. In the end, it doesn't even matter. No, in the end, he ended up working in a chain restaurant, I don't know, an Applebee's or Olive Garden, because he could not get the job that he really is actually qualified for in tech. So let's hope he's able to get the job eventually. I don't know if it's gonna work for him, but let's hope that turns out well for him. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing and share on all the networks. I will see you next time.
Oh my goodness, all the networks!